This program is brought to you by thepodcastfactory.com.
You are listening to Death, Glory, or Disappointment. Welcome back, friends, to another edition. Dan, where the hell have you been?
Well, I've been a little bit busy, Jonathan, because my little sister, who I've referenced in a couple of our discussions, decided to go and break her fucking neck.
Unreal.
Yeah, so it's been a crazy few weeks, and I appreciate you having kind of been there and obviously tolerating the fact that I've had to go home at a moment's notice. Obviously, thank you, listeners, for obviously hanging on, waiting for the next sort of season round of what we're doing, because it has been an interesting few weeks. But it showed me why the decisions I made going online, setting up systems, setting up businesses is the best thing I could ever done to have a sister like Hannah. So basically, sister has epilepsy as well as being brain damaged. She has... she goes to this little club. It's like a special needs kind of club. All the young adults, kids can kind of play and have fun there. And it's her favorite. It's her highlight of the month. It's her own real sort of social outlet. Had a big fit, bang, hit the deck head first. She had something. The thing is, the doctors, and the two neurosurgeons, are actually really cool. They didn't tell us how bad it was. They kind of kept us, not in the dark, but they told us it was serious, but they kind of were very, very good doctors. They kind of just look, we're doing the best we can. Anyway, turns out she got something called a hangman's break. So, when you get from the noose, that's what she got. So C1 and C2, base of your skull, broke both of them.
Oh, God.
So she shouldn't even be walking at all, or alive, to be fair. They said it was that serious. And we were very fortunate that we had, there was someone who was a retired nurse at the place where we were. We have something called the NHS in the UK for any American listeners. They were fantastic, they're really helpful. And we had some of the best neurosurgeons in the UK help us out. And they did they're really honest with us. It hasn't even been done and anyone's Anna's age for over 5 years, and she's going to end up being featured in a journal because it was that rare what she did. I mean, she should not, I'm touch wood, she should not be with us. But like a brother, she's a spiteful little fucker, and she's a fighter. She just refuses to die. So we had the operation, and it kind of brought home a lot of what I've been doing, which is why I kind of this is going to be a hybrid essay, half fuck it fund, half family first, because it's I've neglected both of them in the past, and they're actually really fucking important for any entrepreneur. And it is, I'll basically explain what I mean a bit more. So I was able to, I got the news. I had my friend Justin, Justin, don't you? Justin Devonshire. Yeah. So Justin was staying with me. We just decided to go for a little wander into town. I live in Brighton, sunny day. I went for a little stroll, and Mum calls me. So I'm and I don't know what it's like with your parents, or when they call you, you think, what the fuck's wrong? So my mum usually texts me because she knows I'm busy, and I was so my first pick up the phone, what's wrong? And it actually happened a few days earlier, but they didn't want to call me until we knew that it was 100% okay. And I found out in the news, obviously, literally as soon as I found out, it was literally I literally got a group message, all my core team, mentor, friends, everything, and just said, right, this is what's got to happen. This is what I've got to do. I'm off. Literally, I need you to handle this, 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 and this. Do not message me unless it's fucking urgent. And I just literally grabbed the bag, went. And I was able to both provide resources for my parents, as in financial resources, be able to invest in, some better quality care and get the carers in and that sort of stuff, as well as just be able to go, I'm off in a hotel, just there for my family. Literally, I got a taxi. So I have a driver here. I literally got driven all the way there. It's not practical. It's not a local cab fare. And I live basically opposite sides of the UK from where I'm from and where I live. Just literally straight across, and having that fuck it fund And what I call it is I do have an amount of money, and I've been very, very strict about this for a while. Everything I earn profit-wise. So, I put aside all my tax money, and I've had a really big tax bill lately. Happy to pay. A lot of people hate taxes. But I'm like, well, I earn it. So, I've actually quite enjoyed paying it off, because I kind of feel like, well, that's validation that I achieved something there. But I always put money aside for tax. I put 10% aside in savings, and then I put generally 10, 20% aside into the fuck it fund. And that's of my profit. And I'm very, very conscious that I do that religiously. That fund isn't touched. It's not used for anything. It's not invested. It is a case of shit hits the fan. I mean, my mentor told me this. I've heard it quite a few times. It's essentially 6 months of living at the standard I'm at now, expenses. So if my life just went completely to shit and I thought, literally, fuck it. I know I've got, I can pay my bills, I can look after myself, I can still maintain the standard of life that I'm used to, but it's also there for emergencies. And this was an emergency, and it was just like, literally doesn't matter. And there's a lot of people who get into our sort of world who not live hand to mouth, but they don't know where, they have no control over their deal flow. They have no idea where their next customer's from. They don't know, like, for example, they don't know their KPIs. How many leads did you get in? How much advertising you spend? What's your return on investment? Okay, so if you put in $1,000, you get $1,500 back. How many more $1,000 can we put in? They don't know these basic metrics. And I didn't used to. So all this kind of stuff, I was like, no, don't need to know it. Not interested. I'll just keep doing Dan stuff and it'll be okay. And a degree of energy and enthusiasm and passion will get you so far. But what I found is that once you fully understand what's coming in versus what comes going out, sometimes it's really good. You're like, oh, wow, I've got a lot more than I thought. But more often than not, it's like, fuck, that's wasting a lot of money. And I did it recently with my strength and conditioning coach, and I did some stuff with him and his business. And he's doing well. He's got a lovely facility, but we went through the numbers and we're like, dude, where's the profit? And we've now got the profit back, and we've kind of rationalized it, and we've changed his advertising, we've changed his ads and all this kind of good stuff. And it's now going back up in the right way. We've got overheads are the same, cut out some expenses, and obviously kind of understanding. But most business owners don't know these key numbers. I mean, they don't. They don't know if they spend $100 on Facebook, what their return on investment is. If they post 10 times a day on social media, I know for a fact, if I post consistently 5 times a day on social media, 3 or 4 times a day in my group and 2-3 times in my private places, that my income increases. It is a direct correlation to how much content I put out, how often I podcast, how often I email, how often I do live streams, how often I do, just general content posts. The more quality I put out, and there's equally, I found a tipping point, there's a range. Anything more than about 7 a day, people tune me out. So if I stick to 5 a day, 3 emails a week. I mean, I'm a big fan. Obviously, we've got a mutual friend, Ben. So I love a daily email, but I found 2 to 3 a week works really well for my audience, because I like to create custom content. Ben's channel is pretty much email, so he can come up with stuff every day. I've got a lot more I do on social media and other channels as well. So for me, 2 or 3 emails works. If I just stick to those metrics, my business grows. As soon as I let them slip, my business starts to dip. And obviously, we're now going into paid advertising and stuff now. And a lot of my friends, a lot of people listening will be doing, paid ads and paid media. But understanding where your business is going to be crucial. If I didn't know what was coming in each month, I wouldn't know what to siphon off to put into the fuck it fund, into the tax fund, into the savings fund, and into the investment. And I've got fund money. I've got a fund money account. I know they take 10% each month. I'm being super honest. I fucking waste it. I buy Ironman helmets. And what have I bought this month? I mean, I bought a folding mountain bike. Haven't taken it out yet. I've got the Ironman helmet. Probably bought about 8 to 10 books. I'm trying to see. Oh, bought a new watch. Got myself a nice Panerai because I wanted it. Just walked past it, saw it, have it.
When did you make the change, Dan? You said that a while back you were just doing Dan stuff, which is the Dan I know, and then you changed like business Dan. When did you make that change, and what was the catalyst for that change?
It was probably about just over a year ago, and it was when we were coming up, because obviously it's a year anniversary to our Gary Vee event. And it was we were investing heavily, both me and Frank were putting a lot of our own money on there. And then we sort of, I was just spend. I was investing I got my publisher, I self-published my book, I bought all the books, sent them out by hand. We put a lot of money down for Gary Vee, and the venue and everything else. And then, you suddenly realized as we were coming up to that, I was like, fuck, I've got money coming in. We've got lots of people joining Espresso, private clients, all this kind of good stuff. But I'm like, I don't know what those numbers are. I just know that there's money there at the moment, but there may not be money there later. And I just thought, if I just keep going like this, I'm going to fuck myself. So it was a case of, I literally stopped burying my head in the sand, went, saw my bank manager, got a financial advisor, spoke to all my team, like literally had someone, because I have like mild dyspraxia. I struggle with numbers and columns and stuff. So for example, that's where, and like I have to, like today, for example, I had to double check with you the time because I struggle to see the difference. And I literally have to count on my hand. Yep. Okay. That's 5. But I'm honest with you. The things have got like a double maths A level, but I understand that that's one of my weaknesses. So I had to get, literally my accountant had to sit down with me, old school, pen and paper, and we went through it line by line. But then that way, I stopped burying my head in the sand and then started to figure out, okay, this amount of money comes in each month. That's our bare minimum. If it dips below there, then we've got to do this. And you've got to understand where you are, where you want to be, what happens if everything goes wrong. And most people do not plan for going wrong. And I'm not into like that kind of abundance versus saving mindset. I'm still a very abundant mindset, but you've got to also be just a little bit sensible. And I had this financial advisor who helped me out recently, and he made a really good point. We were going through my business, and he said, so what happens if Dan dies? I was like, what do you mean? He says, well, who does your stuff? And I'm like, well, no one. So he said, so if you die, you're the brand. You're the face of it. You're the figurehead. What happens to, your family, your parents, your team? And then, it just kind of hits you like a fucking smack to the face. I was like, shit. So then I obviously did, boring things like a pension, like getting death in service, like getting all of these things that basically not just protect me, but protect all my loved ones and all the people I care about. Because if I was, get squished by a bus, what happens? Nothing. It's not going to be coffee with Tager, is it?
Yeah.
Do you imagine that? Poor bastard. It'd absolutely kill him.
Oh, that'd be great. He wouldn't be saying a whole lot. He'd just be laid back and quiet.
Yeah, it would not.
It'd be quiet with Niga. That's what it would be.
But the key thing I'm trying to sort of say here is like knowing where you are, looking where your weaknesses are in your business, and not being afraid of them. Like I put off speaking to people about finance because I didn't understand it. It kind of scared me a little bit, and I didn't want to feel stupid. And it took me a while to find someone I trusted. So when I found those people I trusted who I recommended, I just put my hands up, said, "Look, I am a fucking idiot. I need you to you have to break it down to like the Dan zone." And they did, but it gave me a real good clarity of where I was, what I needed to do, and obviously gave me that understanding that, like I said, touch wood again. Don't know why I even do that, but like random. Cool. Yeah, not that sort of wood. You can't see the bottom of my screen; it's not that big. But if anything went wrong, I know for a fact that I can literally up sticks, leave. My team is looked after. My business is still running itself. We've spoken, I'm not going too much into like systems, that we've done one of those on podcast on that before, but having systems in place, having a fund available that is your, not rainy day fund, it is your emergency fund. It is your fuck it fund. And equally, there's a friend of mine recently who had a fuck it fund, not a crazy amount. It was enough to pay his mortgage off every month, live an okay life, and probably have about £1,000 a month, like fritter money. And he'd been working in corporate for a long time, trying to do the online thing, hadn't working because obviously it's very hard to do two at once. And he literally said, fuck it, quit his job. He's pissed off to Thailand. Him and his missus, they're just gone.
Wow.
He said, and you know what? He said, I'll figure it out when I'm out there. He's like, he's got my fuck it fund. He said, the house is being paid for. We've got more than enough money. Grab 2 tickets, open end, gone. So it doesn't have to be for a negative thing. It can be for a cool thing as well. If you just decide, I've had enough, I'm off. But if you've not putting money aside for that, either shitty situation, the fuck it situation, or just the fact that life will throw you a curveball. It's that simple. It's going to happen. You are setting yourself up for a fall at some point. I mean, hopefully never happens. We thought that ourselves. And then, I get a call out the blue on a Sunday afternoon, happy as a clam. And what happens?
So Dan, we're at about 14 minutes here, but feels like we talked more about the Fuck It Fund and not so much about the family first, although some of your stories alluded to that. So can you just give me a little bit of insight to that part of it? Yeah,
I probably went a little bit too sort of practical there. So one thing that I did, I spent 2 years pretty much sacrificing relationships, my health, my sanity to a degree, to try and build the business I did. Now, do I regret that? No, because I wouldn't have what I have now if I hadn't made those sacrifices. But seeing my parents and seeing, they're wonderful people. Like, just understand that your family, I mean, hopefully you love them, you get on well. Some people don't. I mean, it's true. They don't like their family, and that's okay. But there's only so much longer that your mum, dad are going to be here. And, we've only got a finite amount of time on this earth. Like, I've realized I spent so much time, which is why this year I killed my travel schedule. I ditched all the TNCs, no masterminds. I'm like, no, doing nothing. People want to come. I'm doing masterminds here. They come to British. I live on the seaside. Come to me. So I said no to everything this year. No events, no nothing, because I wanted to have time to spend time with my family, with my friends, with my sister, with my loved ones, because before you know it, they're gone. And everything I do is inspired by my family. That's why I do what I do. But I've realized the one thing they wanted was my time. They just wanted to see me. They wanted to go for a walk, have a coffee, have dinner together. I saw my granddad. I haven't seen my granddad for, a year, and he's in a care home. He's 94 now. And one day I just thought, no, fuck this. Cancelled my appointments, got a cab, went to see him about 2 hours away. He's old. I mean, it lasted 20 minutes. That was it. It was 20. But you know what? It made his day. He was tired. He's an old boy now as well, so I was cool with that. But it made me happy. I'm like, do you know what? Don't know how much longer he's going to be with us. None of us do. But it felt good to connect with those that I love. So I said, for all the hustle, for all the grind, for all the, let's make things happen. And there, as I said, I'm never going to say there's not a period of sacrifice, because there is. But once you've kind of got through it, use the time, use the money, use the freedom to spend time with the people that were there for you when you were just you. Simple as that.
All right. I'm good with that. So, Dan, we are a little bit over what we wanted to be. What's coming up next time?
I don't know. What did we write down?
now you can see what I'm actually doing.
At least I'm honest. I get all excited.
So next time, Social Media Savages. We're going to talk a little bit about that project.
Looking forward to it.
All right. So that is a wrap for another Death, Glory, or Disappointment. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Dan, for sharing your insight with us. And we'll be back next time, which will actually be next week.
Indeed. Unless you're listening live, then you're going to watch it all now, you little scamps.
You've been listening to Death, Glory, or Disappointment with Dan Meredith. If you enjoyed the show and you want more, then your next step is to go to iTunes right now and subscribe. And while you're there, give us a rating and review. It'll help us out a bunch, plus it'll bring you good karma.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.